lesson 3. So lesson 3, we are going to talk about data types. So what are data types? Data types refers to the different forms of data that we have. Data can actually be grouped into different forms. So these different forms into which data can be grouped is what we term as what? Data types. So we have data types being equal to different forms of what? Of data. So the type of data determines the operations that we can perform. The state in which a data exists actually determines the operations that we can perform with such data. So let's take this everyday example to build on the fact that the type of data we have actually determines our operations. We have John, and John is looking for someone. What John knows about the person is that John can only describe the person. So John moves out in search for this person. So John meets Cosmos, and then John describes the person to Cosmos. And Cosmos, after the description, says that, oh, the way you are describing the person, I think that person is Mr. Frimpong. So now, let's look at this here. Do you think that John, moving forward in search of this person, will still go and then describe the person? No. Now that John is having the person's name being Mr. Frimpong, John will go out to search for Mr. Frimpong, not describing him again, but rather using his name. So John moves forward to search for Mr. Frimpong. John meets Kelsey. I said, please, I am looking for Mr. Frimpong. No more description. So here, John is no more describing the person again. So the data that John obtained has influenced his what? His operations. That is how he is actually searching for Mr. Frimpong. So Kelsey says, oh, if you are looking for Mr. Frimpong, then take his mobile number. Now another question, do you think John will still move around in search of Mr. Frimpong now that he has gotten his number? The answer is typically no. Now that John has Mr. Frimpong's number, John will instead pick his mobile phone and then give Mr. Frimpong a call. So this actually tells us that the data we have determines our operations. Now, when we come to computing, the same thing happens. The form in which data exists determines the operation that we can perform with such data. So data type actually tells or instructs the compiler or interpreter how it should handle that particular word, data, thereby preventing errors and possible crashing of the computer. So when we give the set of instructions to the computer to follow, the data types in which we define in this set of instructions actually instruct the compiler or the interpreter on how it should handle such data. So if you don't know what compiler is, if you don't know what interpreter is, you have to watch lesson 2 part 2 in order to be able to know about compiler or interpreter and what they actually do. So moving forward, data types also tells the compiler or interpreter how much memory it should allocate. So when it comes to data types, each data type has what is called memory allocation that the system or the compiler or the interpreter allocates for such data type. So when we define the data types comes in to instruct the compiler or the interpreter on how much memory it should allocate. So the compiler or the interpreter comes to know that this type of data, this is the memory we should allocate for it. So how data is stored or represented actually determines how that data can be used. Now, let's look at the various data types we have. So the common data types a programmer deals with are, we have what is called string, we have integer, we have boolean, we have float or double, we have characters, we have dates and time, and then the last one we will add is media or file. So these are the various data types a programmer actually deals with. Now let's take these data types one after the other and then look at what they are. So the first one is string. What is string? So string is a data type that represents a sequence of characters that are enclosed in quotation marks. Any sequence of characters that are enclosed in quotation marks becomes a data type known as string. And the quotation marks could either be single quotation mark or double quotation mark. So in simple terms, we say that anything within double quotation mark is a string. So anything within double quotation mark is a string. And then moving forward, we shall look at why we say that anything within double quotation mark is a string. Examples include letters. So when we put letters in double quotation mark, we get a data type known as what? String. When we put numbers inside quotation mark, we get a data type known as what? String. The same way when we put special characters or special symbols inside double quotation mark, we get a data type known as string. That's why we say that anything that we put within double quotation mark or single quotation mark becomes a data type known as string. So not only letters, numbers, and special symbols, but also space. So when we put space inside either single quotation mark or double quotation mark, it becomes a data type known as string. So in this example, we have hello space world. Remember, we have already said that the space is also a character, and then when we put this character inside double quotation mark, it becomes a string. Let's look at key characteristics of string. How would we know that this is a string? There are some characteristics or there are some things that identifies a string. So one, always strings are enclosed in quotes, either single quotation or double quotation marks. Strings are enclosed in quotes, either single quotation or double. There are also sequence of characters. So that is, strings can contain any number of characters, whether letters, numbers, special characters, or even spaces. Strings are case sensitive. When we say case sensitive, what does it mean? So let's look at this hello starting with capital letter H. And we know that this is a string because we have put this particular word into double quotation mark. And then let's look at this hello starting with small letter h. So when we say case sensitive, though we pronounce these words hello, hello, but how we have spelled them, one beginning capital letter H and one beginning with small letter h, makes them different. Hello starting with capital letter H is different from hello starting with small letter h. The same way, these two are also different from hello, with hello that is having the spelling to be what? Uppercase or all capital letters. Now, we have established earlier on that the type of data we have determines the operations that we can perform on such data. Now, we are dealing with strings. Let's look at some key operations that we can perform on strings. So the first operation that we can perform on string is an operation called concatenation. So concatenation simply refers to combining two or more strings into one. So example, we have hello and then we have world. So we have these two strings. So we want to combine these two strings. In programming, the operator that is used to perform concatenation, that is to join two or more strings together, is the plus operator that we use in mathematics to perform addition. So we will say that the addition that we perform on strings is known as concatenation. So when we are combining two or more strings together, when we are adding two or more strings together, we say that we are performing what? Concatenation. And then the operator that is used to perform concatenation is the plus operator. So now we have hello plus world, which will give us what? Hello world. Now someone will ask, why is it that we do not have space within the hello world? Remember, we have said earlier on that space is also a character, and then if we want space in our concatenation, then we have to add the character space to our concatenation. So in this case, we have hello plus space. So we have double quotation mark, and inside the double quotation mark we have space, and then we have another plus, then we have world, before it actually gives us what we want, hello world. This is the reason why we said that the computer is dumb, and then it will actually follow the instruction we give to it blindly. It is not able to make decisions. So the computer becomes powerful only as a result of the instructions that we give to it. Now let's move forward to look at other operations that we can perform on strings. So we can perform what is called upper or lower, meaning we can convert strings to uppercase and then lowercase respectively. So example, I may declare a string which is only made up of lowercase letters, and then I would want to convert these lowercase letters to uppercase. So we have a special operation called dot to uppercase, which will take the small or the lowercase hello and then convert it to uppercase hello. So the same way, if we declare uppercase strings and then we want to convert it to lowercase string, we have an operation called dot to lowercase that will pick the string that is in uppercase and then convert it to lowercase. We have another operation called length, and this operation actually gives us the number of characters that are in a string. So if we want to find the number of characters in a string, we can perform an operation known as what? Dot length. So let's say we have hello, and then we want to know the number of characters that are in the string hello. So we can perform an operation called dot length, and this dot length will give us the what? the number of characters that are actually in the string we have. Then we have another operation called replace, and replace operation replaces characters within a string. So let's take this example. Maybe we have hello world, and then we would want to change hello world to hello universe. So we can perform an operation called dot replace that will take the world and then replace it with what? Universe, and give us our result, hello universe. So the last operation we will talk about here is something called trim, that we can also perform on what? On strings. And then trim has to do with removing white spaces from start or end of string. What does it mean? Let's look at it into detail. So when we look at this particular string, we can see that it is having a leading what? White space or spaces, and then trailing white spaces, that spaces after the word. So we have spaces before and then spaces after the word. And then we would want to remove these what? Unnecessary spaces from the string in order for us to be able to get what? This hello without any space. So we can perform an operation called dot trim, and this dot trim operation will take our string with the leading and then trailing white spaces and then convert it or change it to the string without the what? The white spaces. There are more operations that we can perform on strings that we cannot what? Cover all of them in this particular lesson. So what I want you to understand is that the kind of data we deal with determines the operations that we can perform on the data. So let's move forward. Let's look at character as a data type. We mentioned character as one of the data types we have. When we put any symbol, whether it is letter, whether it is digit or a special character, inside single quotation mark, we get what? A data type known as what? Character. So examples include, so we have the small letter A inside single quotation mark, and this is what? A character. We have at inside single quotation mark. That's single symbol inside single quotation mark. Then we have 9, which is also a digit inside single quotation mark. So when we put that single symbol inside single quotation mark, we get a data type known as what? Character. Now I want you to take note that when we put a single character in double quotation mark, it becomes string. That's why initially we said that everything that we put inside double quotation mark is a string. Let's look at integer as a data type. Now, integer, which is also known as int, is a positive or negative whole number that can be used with mathematical operators. So in simple terms, we say that numbers that are not having dots within are known as what? Integers. So we have some numbers that we write them and then we put dots inside these numbers. So all the numbers that are not having dots inside them are known as what? Integers. And it can either be a positive or negative number. So we have examples being 23 without a dot. We have negative 67. We have 1030. Then we have negative 1. So any number without a dot is an integer data type. And then we can perform mathematical operations such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and then division. So we have 10 plus 23 being equal to 33. Then we have 20 minus 10 giving us 10. Then we have 15 times 2 giving us 30. Then we have 40 divided by 20 giving us what? 2. So with integer data types, we can perform mathematical operations with them. Now let's talk about float or double data type. So float or double data type is a data type representing decimal numbers. Now decimal number is a number with a dot in it. So under integer, we said that they are the numbers without what? Dot in it. So when we come to float or double data type, these are the numbers that are having dots in it. So examples include 12.09. We have negative 45.001. We have 123.456. Float or double data types, they can either be negative numbers or positive numbers. So the difference between integer and float is that integer data type are numbers without dots in it. Float or double data types are also known as floating point numbers. Floating point numbers. So in programming, floating point numbers are used to represent monetary values. So maybe we would want to represent 10 cedis 99 pesos. We use float or double data type to represent that. We also use float or double data type to represent measurement. Example 12.5 meters, we have 7.8 kilograms. And then they are also used to represent scientific data. Example being 37.5 degrees Celsius. So 37.5 degrees Celsius is a scientific data. Then as we said under integers that we can perform mathematical operations with integers, we can also perform mathematical operations on float or double. So we can perform addition, we can perform subtraction, we can perform multiplication, and then we can also perform what? Division with float or double data types, also known as what? Floating point numbers. Let's look at Boolean data type. Boolean data type is a data type which has two values. So Boolean data type deals with only two values. And what are these two values? They are true and false. So Boolean data type is a data type that has only two values, which are true and false. So these values represent logical or binary conditions, and then in simple terms we say that they are used in computer programming for decisions. So to make any decision, we use Boolean data type to make such what? Decisions. So let's look at typical use case. Maybe we would want to check if the user of maybe a particular application is logged in or not. So we can set is logged in to true to denote that the person is actually logged in. Then we can also set is admin. So maybe the person who has logged in, is the person admin or not. We can set it to false if the person is not admin, or we can set it to true if indeed the person is admin. And then there are some statements that also evaluate to either true or false. So we term this statement as what? As Boolean statement. So we have if age is greater than 18. Now this particular statement may evaluate to either true or false. We have a separate video on conditional statements and how they are used in computer programming. So Boolean data types deals with only two values, which are true and false. Now let's look at media or file data types. So when we say media or file data types, They include the photos that we take, either JPEG or PNG. Then we have songs that we listen to, that's MP3. Then we have videos, and then we have document, Word document or PDF or any other document that we deal with. So these are what we term as what? Media or file data type. Now explain the term data type. Mention any 5 data types. The data type which has only 2 values, true and false, is called a single character in a double quotation mark is. Kindly like and share the lesson for others to also benefit. And then put all your answers at the comment section, and then we shall verify all the answers for you. This is the end of lesson 3. Now let's look at lesson 4.